Hello, everybody. Good to be with you again. We are getting close to the end of this series of beginnings and endings. We're on to the letter of Jude, which is the penultimate book in the Bible. That being the case, I would really appreciate a bit of feedback on what you'd like me to do next, really. There's a possibility that I just do whatever comes to mind, or I might do a verse by verse look through a particular book. I'm open to suggestions, so feel free to leave a comment under this video to let me know what you think I should be doing next. As I said, today we are looking at the beginning of the letter of Jude. This is how he begins. Jude, a servant of Jesus Christ and brother of James, to those who are called, who are beloved in God the Father, and kept safe for Jesus Christ. A lovely opening, and we're going to focus just on the first part of it today. Jude, a servant of Jesus Christ and brother of James. So, who's James? Well, the main James in the New Testament is James, the brother of Jesus. He was a New Testament leader. He was martyred in about AD 62, and he was, like I say, a brother of Jesus, held a prominent role in the early church. It's interesting then that Jude calls himself a brother of James and a servant of Jesus Christ. We know that Jesus had several brothers in Matthew's Gospel. In chapter 13, we're told that when Jesus came to his hometown and began to teach people in their synagogue, they were astounded and said, "Where does this man get his power and wisdom from? Isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't Mary his mother? And aren't his brothers James and Joseph and Simon and Jude?" So we're told that he had at least 4 brothers, and we're also aware that he had some sisters, although they are not named in the Bible. James and Jesus and Jude were all brothers, all sons of Mary, although obviously they had different fathers. And we know also that things weren't necessarily comfortable and easy in their relationship with each other. We're told in Mark chapter 3 that when he went home, a crowd came together again, so they couldn't even eat. And when his family heard about it, they went out to restrain him, for people were saying, "He's gone out of his mind." His family seemed to be willing to believe the rumour that Jesus was out of his mind. He'd lost all grasp on reality. He was saying stuff that no human in their right mind would be saying, that he's the Messiah, that he is God incarnate. And his brothers and even Mary, his mother, go to restrain him. They are willing to take him off to the funny farm because they don't get what is going on. So if that's the case, why is Jude writing a letter to a church or a group of churches and calling himself a servant of Jesus Christ when he was a brother? How come he's got a role in the early church at all? Well, the answer for Jude, and also for James, and for countless millions of people over the centuries since then, is the resurrection. You see, it was the resurrection that turned these skeptics in his own family into believers and leaders in the early church. We're told by Paul, who quotes the famous, very, very early creed, if you like, in 1 Corinthians 15, which even skeptical scholars today have dated to potentially within 6 months of the events they're talking about, that Jesus, after he had been crucified, appeared to his brothers. That resurrection appearance, That seeing their brother, who they had seen taken to be crucified, who his mother had watched being buried, that resurrection appearance transformed their lives. And the resurrection can still transform lives today. If we take a good look at the resurrection, if we recognize that it means that everything that Jesus told us about himself, about life, about the future is true, because he was right on this most extraordinary of claims, that he would die and come back from the dead, something that he would have absolutely no control over, potentially. If that's all true, then that puts us in a situation where, like Jude, we have to recognize that Jesus is way more than just a human. And he deserves our loyalty, and although it's not a fashionable term, he demands our submission. Because if the resurrection is true, and James and Jude, his brothers, his skeptical brothers, believed it was, the resurrection is true. And that means that Jesus is God. That means that Jesus is our creator. He's the one that has final word. And so why wouldn't we want to be in his service? Because it's an adventure. It's a joy. It's the reason for living, to serve Jesus, our Lord, our Master, and our friend. Tomorrow we'll see how Jude concludes his short letter. Until then, look after yourselves and God bless.